It's basically the day after the storm here, and it's still raining. We're actually getting more rain now that the storm has passed us than we did actually during the storm. Taking a look at some of the water. I'll show you some of the water right here. Yeah, we usually don't see water like that around here unless we get like one of those really heavy summer storms. But you can see like a lot of these yards here, these are pretty flooded. Yeah, I've never seen them flooded like that, and I'll tell you, it's only been about the last hour that they've gotten up that high. And unfortunately for me, I got to head up into North Fort Myers and pick up some shirts for the tarpon hunters, and I'm sure we're gonna hit some flooding that way. So we'll see what the ride gives us. Water's a little high here. See some flooding where we're going to see some flooding back here, but it doesn't look any worse than really anywhere else. And we have reached our destination. Like the sun's trying to peek through. I see some blue skies over there, so we may finally be at the end. So it looks like we survived what actually became Hurricane Elsa. Elsa was a storm that came off of the the African coast, like many of our storms, came across the Atlantic. First they hit Barbados. It did turn into a Category 1 hurricane for a short time before it hit Cuba. Now when it hit Cuba, it kind of stayed there for a while. Cuba is very mountainous. It's got like 6,000 foot peaks. So the meteorologists always like to say that, oh, the storm could get broken up if it goes over Cuba because of the big mountains. I'm not a meteorologist, I'm just the captain. But the problem is once it gets over Cuba and it gets into the Florida Straits, you hit the warm water again. And unless there's some wind shear, there's nothing to prevent that storm from rebuilding, which is what this storm did. Once it's coming up the west coast of Florida, rather than going out further into the Gulf, our water on the west coast of Florida is very warm. The reason it's warm is because the west coast of Florida, in the Gulf, it's very shallow. This storm is about 60 miles off our coast, so it was probably it was in less than 100 feet of water, probably even closer to 60 feet of water. Very warm water. To give you an example, if you go fishing off of Miami, you can see land and you can be in 1,500 feet of water. In the west coast of Florida, if you want to see 1,500 feet of water, you're going to probably have to go almost 200 miles off the coast. So that's the big difference between the two coasts. And one of the reasons that the water over here stays so warm. So what happened with this storm, it was coming up our coast. It got almost parallel with us, and it turned into a Category 1 hurricane. This happened around 8 o'clock last night. It's not the first time I've seen a storm strengthen right off of our coast. Again, our water is really warm, it's really shallow, and it happens. Now, the good thing about the storm for us was timing. When it had come across us, we were actually in our low tide, so we didn't have a lot of water already up into our against our shore for it to push more water. So that helped us quite a bit with the storm surge. I really didn't see much storm surge. I looked at the dock this morning while it was still pretty dark and raining, and I seen one deck board that was loose. So the water did get up to the same height as the deck of the dock, but it wasn't like Ada. When Ada came across in November, I had over a foot of water on top of the dock. So this one was way lower. Our winds, we probably had 35, 40 mile an hour gusts overnight. So it's a good thing I took that top off the tent and tied everything down. Nothing blew, nothing moved. So we really, I mean, for us it was really just a heavy rainstorm. We ended up, they're saying we got in areas about 10 inches of rain, which is a lot of rain. And I expected to actually see some more flooding as I drove out to North Fort Myers today. But really, I mean, it's pretty much typical for a summertime heavy thunderstorm, which is what we got. And it's still raining now. I can see some blue skies are trying to peek through. This is the tail end of Elsa right now. Elsa was a very elongated storm rather than a real circular tight storm like you see a lot with hurricanes. So I mean, the center of Elsa right now is above Tampa, and we're still seeing rain here. And actually, I was listening to the news, and they're saying that on the East Coast, there's actually places that lost power. So that's another thing you have to think about when we get a hurricane here in Florida, that a lot of these hurricanes are 300-400 miles round. And even if it's hitting the east coast of Florida, if that eye makes landfall on the east coast of Florida and it's a 400-mile wide storm, that means that there's 200 miles of storm across the state. Well, the state isn't even 200 miles wide down here. So we're definitely going to get their storms and they're going to get our storms. We share storms. But that's one of the things that we worry about here in Florida. It doesn't really matter which coast is going to get hit with the hurricane, because we're all going to be affected. It just matters the intensity, the timing of it, you know, what your tide is going to be like when it comes in, and what part of the storm you're going to get hit with. That front northern quadrant is the worst part to get hit with. That's the part that's going to push the water into land, and that's going to give us the storm surge and the flooding from the tidal water, which is to me, that's the scariest part, because I live at 7 feet above sea level. So if I get a storm surge above 7 feet, I'm in the water. It's never happened, but it could happen. But it looks like Elsa has let us go. So once it stops raining, we'll be able to get working on that boat and maybe do a little fishing again. All right, thanks for watching, and see you next time. Thanks.